What if AI is already changing the way you think and you didn't even notice? Not by replacing your job, not by stealing your data, but by slowly rewiring how you make decisions, gather information, and even affect what you believe is true. This isn't science fiction, it's happening now and happening fast. AI doesn't have to become smarter than you to control you, it just has to make you lazy. It writes your emails, summarizes your news, finishes your sentences, and if you're not careful, it'll start finishing your thoughts too, and it may already have. The danger isn't that AI will think for us, it's that we'll stop thinking for ourselves. Welcome back to Thinking and Being. If you like what you see today, please go ahead and like and subscribe, as this will enable you to see more content from myself and others just like this. And of course, as I said before, my pledge to you is to make each video 1% better as we go. So why this particular topic? This one's been on my mind because I've already seen it happening. People leaning on AI for everything, writing reports, solving problems, even thinking up ideas for conversations. There's already slang words for it, terms like promptstitute. People who, at work or colleagues or friends who constantly ask ChatGPT for answers and leave the thinking to the computer and not to themselves. Over and over, without learning, without questioning, without thinking. And it's easy to see how we got here. AI makes things faster, easier, cleaner. But faster doesn't mean smarter. Easier doesn't mean better. And if we're not careful, AI won't just change how we work, it'll change how we think. So let's slow down and ask, how do we keep AI from hijacking our minds while still using it without fear? So the first main idea I would like to discuss is, what is thinking really? Thinking isn't what you think. We like to believe thinking is about coming up with ideas, but most of it isn't. Thinking is mostly recognizing patterns. Your brain takes fragments of memory, experience, and other inputs and runs simulations. You're not solving problems from scratch, you're predicting what's happened before, what's likely to happen again. And that's not a flaw, it's efficiency. But it also means your brain loves shortcuts, and that's where things can get dangerous. Truth isn't what you think either. So how do we decide what's true? Usually, whatever feels easy to believe. Your brain prefers fluency, things that are repeated, simple, and emotionally comfortable. These things feel more true even if they're wrong. This is why propaganda works, why conspiracy theories spread, and why AI-written content feels trustworthy. It sounds smooth, certain, and often authoritative. Truth becomes less about fact and more about what your brain finds convenient. So you have to understand the brain is a feedback loop. Here's the system's thinking idea. Thought turns to action, turns to feedback, turns to belief, and that reinforces thought. You think something, you act on it, you get results, and that reinforces the belief. Over time, this becomes a loop. And the problem, if AI feeds you answers you don't challenge, your loop closes faster. You stop updating your mental models. You stop questioning. You outsource your thinking, and you don't even realize it's happening. Cognitive offloading isn't something new. Humans have been outsourcing thinking forever. Maps replaced mental navigation. Calculators replaced mental math. Google replaced encyclopedias. But here's the catch. Those tools gave you answers. AI gives you patterns. And if you start adopting those patterns without noticing, you're not just offloading tasks, you're offloading your entire process for how you form ideas. And so you have to know that AI doesn't think, it predicts. AI isn't conscious. It doesn't know truth from fiction. It's a probability engine. It takes an average of everything in the aggregate. What's the next likely word? What's the next likely idea? It's trained on our patterns, the internet, books, conversations, and it reflects them back at us. But the danger isn't in the technology itself, it's that we treat those outputs as thought, when really they're just reflections of what's already been thought or said. And why does that matter now? Thinking takes time. It requires friction, confusion, maybe a little doubt. But AI erases that friction. It hands you neat answers and quickly. No struggle, no questioning, no ownership of the thought. If you don't pause, you risk trading your brain's messy, beautiful uncertainty for someone else's smooth, convenient certainty. And that's how thinking gets hijacked, quietly, efficiently, and almost kindly. Next, let's talk about how AI is already hijacking and potentially rewiring your brain. Your brain is a shortcut machine. Your brain burns about 20% of your body's energy, even though it's only 2% of your mass. It craves shortcuts for this reason. Anything that helps it think less feels good. Social media trained us to skim, scroll, and swipe. AI just accelerated that by offering fast, clean, confident answers. And you can read more about this in Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, where it talks about System 1 thinking and how it loves speed over accuracy. The risk of all this is your brain rewards you for not thinking deeply because it saves energy. Next, let's talk about rewiring through repetition. Neuroplasticity tells us this: what fires together wires together. Every time you let AI autocomplete your thoughts, whether it's finishing your sentence, summarizing an article, or writing some kind of post, or writing a book, you reinforce neural pathways for speed over depth. Repeat that process enough and your brain rewires itself to favor convenience, not criticality. And you can read more about this in Norman Doidge's book, The Brain That Challenges Itself, where it talks about habits reshaping brain structures over time. The long-term danger? Cognitive atrophy. You stop thinking deeply because the muscles all get weaker. So social media was phase one. AI hijacking is not new. It's the next evolution of what social media already did. Algorithms taught us to crave simpler answers, faster validation, outrage over nuance. AI accelerates all of these loops. You ask for a summary, it gives you one. You trust it. No curiosity, no skepticism, just dopamine and done. And you can read more about this in Nicholas Carr's book, The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. Carr explains how fast the media rewired our brains for surface level cognition. AI isn't new, it's just faster and more seductive. So writing without thinking is still writing without thinking. More people are letting AI draft their work, emails, essays, even new ideas. But writing wasn't just about output, it was about clarifying your thoughts. The struggle to find the right words forced your brain to organize, reflect, and challenge your own assumptions. If AI skips that step for you, you're outsourcing not just your words, but cognition itself. And you can read more about this in studies by Mueller and Oppenheimer in 2014, where they talk about writing by hand improving comprehension. So at the end of the day, if you skip the thinking, you're skipping all the potential growth in your mental models. And as I said before, AI speeds the feedback loop. So AI feeds you answers, you accept them faster, you ask fewer questions, your thinking narrows, and AI reinforces that loop. The brain loves loops, but unchecked loops lead to mental rigidity. Over time, this isn't just hijacking your thoughts, it's reshaping how you form beliefs. This is the important part that we need to think about for the long term. You start mistaking AI's guesses for your own conclusions. And that's how minds shrink without noticing. And one of the things I do in my videos is give other YouTube content creators a quick shout out. I do this because they've inspired me to be on YouTube myself, and I'd like to give them the credit that they deserve. I'd like to promote Alexa Saranoia, who is a new YouTuber. She has really helpful and detailed videos on how to make better YouTube videos. She's a beginner who has had a lot of success in a very short amount of time over the last couple of years. So if you're starting out or just thinking about it, I really recommend her content. I'll leave a link to her channel as well as an interesting video about how to make videos people actually watch, and I still need to learn from this as well. So you can go check those things out. Third thing we need to talk about is why we're all here today is how to keep AI from hijacking your thinking as we continually have to use this tool in our lives. First, you need to reframe AI. It's a tool, not a brain. The danger isn't AI itself, it's how we frame it. A hammer doesn't design houses. A calculator doesn't manage your money. AI isn't thinking. It's predicting patterns, taking averages. The moment you treat it like a replacement for your brain, you've handed over more than convenience. You've surrendered curiosity. Keep it in its lane. It's a tool for exploration, not a decision-making tool. It's a tool for brainstorming, not for believing. Tools serve thinkers, not the other way around. Second, use AI to challenge, not confirm. Want to use AI well? Don't just ask it for answers, Ask it to argue with you. Play devil's advocate. Make it critique your own ideas. Force yourself to engage, to compare, to reflect. Cognitive strength comes from friction. This is why philosophers spoke in public places hundreds of years ago. Without that cognitive friction, you're not thinking. You're collecting outputs. AI isn't dangerous because it's smarter than you. It's dangerous because it's agreeable. Use it to sharpen your mind, not to soothe your mind. Also, practice analog thinking. Not everything has to be digital. Write by hand. Sketch ideas. Journal in a notebook. When you externalize your thoughts in slow, tactile ways, you engage different neural pathways. The ones tied to memory, creativity, problem solving. Analog practices are mental weightlifting. Digital tools are training wheels. Know when to switch. Next, you should slow down and choose depth over speed. One of AI's greatest temptations is speed. But fast answers aren't necessarily better answers. Slow thinking invites deeper analysis, broader connections, more careful conclusions. Pause before accepting AI outputs. Ask, does this align with reality, or is it just convenient? The best thinking doesn't happen in a rush. It happens in revision. Reintroduce systems thinking into your daily habits. Map ideas visually. Trace feedback loops. Notice inputs and outputs, not just answers. This keeps your mind in observer mode, not just user mode. Systems thinkers aren't easily hijacked because they see how patterns evolve. AI shortcuts thinking. Systems restore it. Use both, but on your terms. And finally, curiosity is the antidote. AI thrives on certainty. Thinking thrives on questions. Stay curious. Ask why even more often now that AI is so prolific. Seek ambiguity. Embrace being wrong. The more you nurture curiosity, the less likely you are to mistake AI's confidence for truth. Tools change, curiosity endures. That's how you protect your mind, now and for whatever comes next. Thanks for watching today. My 3 key takeaways are: AI predicts, you actually think. Don't confuse outputs with ideas. Next, use tools, don't become one. Stay in charge of your process. Next, curiosity beats convenience. It's questions that keep your mind alive. Are you guilty of letting AI hijack your thinking? It can be quite addicting to get quick answers. Comment below and tell us what you think. If you like what you saw today, please like and subscribe, as it'll keep this content coming your way. It's my goal to make this content entertaining and funny, enlightening and educational, as well as maybe a little bit nostalgic. Stay tuned, as we're going to talk about a lot of different topics ranging from consciousness to physics, and we have a video coming up about near-death experiences, so you should stay tuned for that. Until then, keep thinking and being, and do not go gentle into that good night.